Hello, my name is Nikki Lamb from the Neil Squire Society, and this presentation is on recreation and fitness. This presentation will advance by itself. All you need to do is observe and listen. I will read and explain all information as we go along. So what is recreation? Recreation, or fun, is the expenditure of time, so spending time in a manner designed for therapeutic refreshment of one's body or mind. And what that means is that after we're finished, our body or our mind, or both, feel better. Recreation is active for the participant, but in a refreshing and diverting manner. Recreation are activities that are structured and organized. It's a time when you schedule the time for activity. It's about having fun, enjoyment, and finding satisfaction. Very often we're motivated to participate from outside of ourselves, so external motivation to participate. Often we participate in recreation activities with others who have the same interest. And an example would be if every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. you went to a community dance lesson or a yoga class or something like that, something you do with other people who have the same interests as yours, and something you do to have fun. Now, what is fitness? Fitness was commonly defined as the capacity to carry out the day's activities without undue fatigue. Meaning we could do what we needed to do in a day without being excessively tired. But society has changed. So as automation, increased leisure time, changes in lifestyle following the Industrial Revolution rendered this definition insufficient. So because most of us, or not most of us, but lots of us don't have real physical jobs, fitness is no longer described as the capacity to carry out our day's activities, because we can sit at a computer or a desk all day and not necessarily be fit. So these days, physical fitness is considered a measure of the body's ability to function efficiently and effectively in work and leisure activities, the body's ability to be healthy, and ability to resist disease and to meet emergency situations. So if for some reason you needed to run or wheel your chair quickly away from someone in an emergency situation, fitness is having the ability to do that. The more fit we are, the stronger our bodies, and the better we are able to resist disease and injury. So there are 5 main types of fitness for our health. They are body composition, cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, and flexibility. So we're going to talk a little more about each of those components and what they mean. Now, body composition typically describes what the human body is made up of. And basically, it describes 2 separate components. So the fat component, the component that is made up of fat, and the fat-free component, that is made up of non-fat in the body. Now, you see, I've attached a picture of a person weighing themselves. I've decided to add into this presentation a picture of how I prefer to weigh myself. This works much better for me. I'm just teasing. I may perhaps carry a little weight myself, so this is a good lesson for me as well. So back to, what is a fat-free component? What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about all our lean body mass, which is the total weight of the water, muscles, bones, ligaments, tendons, everything that isn't fat that is in our body. That's the fat-free component. The fat component consists of 2 types of fat. Essential fat. Now this fat is necessary for normal functioning of the body. Essential fat includes, there's fat in the heart, in intestines, kidneys, liver, lungs, in the marrow of our bones, that's the inside of our bones. There's fat in our muscles, in our spleen. There's fat in the tissues that surround our brain and spinal cord. This is essential fat. We need this fat. And most people have approximately the same amount of essential fat. The other type of fat is storage fat. This includes the fat that accumulates in all the fat cells in the body. It's used to protect the body and to help conserve body heat. And this is the fat that, and myself included here, that sometimes we carry a little extra of this, or sometimes a lot extra of this. And this is the stuff that can be problematic. It is located around internal organs. So it's internal storage of fat, and then it's located just beneath the skin. Subcutaneous storage fat is what that's called. So our liver, for example, has essential fat. But if we have an excess of storage fat, that can pile up around our liver and cause us to have a fatty liver. And then the liver doesn't function as well. And that's the same with all of our organs. So we want to be careful and aware of how much storage fat we have. And when we lose weight, that's what we lose, is storage fat. Something that's really interesting is where this storage fat is placed on our body can impact the risk we have of disease, which is really interesting. So research indicates that fat found in certain areas of the body presents greater risk than fat found in other parts of the body. For example, fat around your waist, like a beer belly or a big waist that creates kind of an apple-shaped body, so you're kind of round. That's called android obesity, and that presents a greater health risk. For example, people who are round and have more fat placed around their waist have a greater risk of heart attack than those who have their fat lower on their body, which accumulates around their thighs or their buttocks, and that kind of creates a pear-shaped body. So where our fat is placed impacts our health as well. Being underweight is also a problem. It poses potential health risks. People who do not receive enough calories may not have the energy they need to maintain good health, and they may be at risk for conditions such as infertility, not be able to conceive children, increased vulnerability to infections, and osteoporosis. Osteoporosis meaning their bones can become very weak and break more easily. There are two methods commonly used to measure body composition. So what that is how much storage fat, excess fat, is on the body. This is what we're talking about now. One is called the body mass index. In order to calculate this, you need to know how tall you are, your height, and how much you weigh. So you need to know your height and your weight. And then using those two numbers, you will find your BMI, your body mass index number, on a body mass index chart. Here is an example of a body mass index chart. So say that you're 5 feet 7 inches in bare feet. So you look along the bottom of the chart and you find 5 feet 7 inches. Okay, keep your eye on that line. And then say you weigh 176 pounds. So you look along the right-hand side of the chart and you find 176. So you follow the 176 line and follow the 5 foot 7 inch line, and where they meet, that's your body mass index. Now if you note, that meets right in the yellow, which is overweight. So a person who is 5 foot 7 and 176 pounds is slightly overweight, which means they have a greater risk of some health problems. Another method commonly used to measure your body composition is called the waist to hip ratio. Now, in order to calculate this, you need a tape measure, and you measure the distance around your waist. Write that down. Measure the distance around your hips. Write that down. Take the waist number and divide it into the hip number. So if you have a calculator, you enter, for example, if your waist was 30 and your hips were 40 inches, you would take 30 divided by 40 equals on the calculator, and that's going to show you your waist to hip ratio. It's going to give you a number, and it's going to give you a number with a point in front of it. Hopefully a point in front of it. If not, that's not a good ratio. That's more like my ratio. So here's the chart. As you can see, if your point, a male and female is different, okay? 0.95 or below, you very low risk of health risk if you're a man. 0.8 or below, low health risk for a woman. And see how that climbs? And that's what I said, if you were over a point. So 1.0 and over for a man is a high health risk. And if you're over 0.85 for a woman, that's a high health risk. So that's another way to tell what your body composition is. The second kind of fitness we're going to speak to is called cardiovascular endurance. And what this basically is, it's the ability of the heart, lungs, and blood vessels and major muscle groups to pump blood to various systems of the body. So when you breathe in oxygen. Those oxygen molecules go into the blood, and then the blood carries those around to the body. And that oxygen being carried around the body is what helps us to function. We need that to be able to move our muscles. Oxygen-rich blood is needed in the muscles to be able to participate in a continuous rhythmic exercise. So anything you do over and over, such as walking, jogging, swimming, dancing, rowing, cycling, anything that you're going to do over and over, you need lots of oxygen in those muscles. Cardiovascular endurance is about your body's ability to continually supply the muscles with the oxygen you're breathing in. The way to train and increase cardiovascular endurance is to do activities that are continuous. So walking, wheeling your wheelchair, anything that you need to do over and over and over that causes you to breathe deeply, that's going to increase cardiovascular endurance, increase the ability of the body to carry the oxygen to the muscles being used. The third type of fitness we're going to speak to is called muscular strength. We need strong muscles to be able to work and to reduce potential injury. Also, muscle fiber, a piece of muscle fiber is going to burn more calories than fat tissue the same size. So if I have a pound of muscle tissue and a pound of fat tissue, it takes more calories. My body has to work harder to keep that muscle tissue alive than to keep that fat tissue alive. So therefore, at rest, I'm burning more calories, and that keeps our fat deposits in check. So when you're beginning or developing your fitness program, it's important to have a cardiovascular component, so a component where you keep your heart rate slightly elevated and you're breathing deeply and taking in lots of oxygen. You need that component, so walking, wheeling your chair for a distance, something that you do over and over, even if it's just raising your arms up and down, bicycling, a hand bicycle, that sort of thing. Do that for at least 20 minutes is going to increase cardiovascular strength. But muscle strength, you have to lift something. You have to use the muscle, so lifting weights. And so when people actually lose weight, lifting weights, it's because they've increased that muscle tissue. Muscle tissue needs more calories from your body to keep it alive, so you burn more calories at rest. So those are some of the reasons muscular strength is so important. The fourth component we're going to talk about is a little different than muscular strength. It's called muscular endurance. So muscular strength is the ability to use the muscle to the maximum. How strong am I? I can lift this amount of weight. I can lift this box. Muscular endurance is the ability to use the muscle over and over and over. So it's not how much I can lift, it's how many times can I lift this box over and over and over in a day. We need muscular endurance for activities that require duration, like walking. Our legs need to have strong muscular endurance to walk, or wheeling our wheelchair. Our shoulders need to have strong muscular endurance. And again, the only way to build that is to do it over and over and over and over. Muscular endurance will be built at the same time cardiovascular endurance, the ability to breathe in and take oxygen to your body. Those are going to develop together by doing exercises that require us to do something over and over and over again for 20 minutes or more. Flexibility is the fifth important health component. Lots and lots of people forget about flexibility, but it's extremely important. Flexibility is known as the range of motion at a given joint, which means how far you can bend or stretch at that joint. So if you're able to, just stretch your arms straight out in front of you, elbow straight out in front of you. Now bend your elbow and touch your hand to your shoulder as close as you can. And then straighten your arm back out, elbow straight. That is the range of motion at the elbow joint. That's how far you can move your body at the elbow joint. That's your flexibility. You can do that for all joints in your body. Flexibility increases the blood supply and nutrients to the joint structure. Now, if your body allowed you to bend your arm like that, I bet you feel a little warmth in your elbow, which is what you were using. That's the joint you were using. The joints need fluid. They need circulation to continue to be healthy. So moving your joint like that increases that circulation, and then your tissues are more elastic. They can move further, they can bend easier. It really helps with things like arthritis and those kinds of things, and really helps prevent injury. If your tissues are more elastic and more supple and you fall, you have less chance of being injured. So what are the benefits of recreation and fitness? There are physical benefits, social benefits, and psychological and emotional benefits. The physical benefits are: it decreases heart disease. Your heart is healthier. That's your cardiovascular endurance. Decreases blood pressure. Same thing. That heart is able to pump more efficiently. There's more oxygen in your heart. Decreases your blood pressure. Decreases type 2 diabetes, which often is a result of carrying too much of the storage fat we talked about. If you take storage fat off your body, if you lose weight, you decrease your risk of type 2 diabetes. Anxiety. We're not as anxious and we don't feel as stressed if we exercise. Fatigue. Surprisingly, you won't feel as fatigued. You will have more energy when you exercise. And obesity, again, speaks to that storage fat. So it improves our respiratory system. We're able to breathe better. We've got more oxygen in our brain. That's going to increase our attention span. Our brain works more effectively. And our lifestyle, you just overall feel better. Social benefits. Friendships. Getting together with people to do something you have in common. You get to interact with others. It's a companionship. You can have social support from that. And networking. How many times have you heard, it's not what you know, it's who you know, when you're getting a job or something like that? We've heard that over and over. If you're working out beside someone, you get to know them. Maybe that's your ticket to that job. It is very often who we know. Increase your social network system by recreation and fitness, and that may be a stepping stone to that job. Psychological and emotional benefits. It decreases depression. There's actually a chemical released in your body when you exercise that decreases depression, decreases pessimistic thought, decreases anxiety. You're not as restless because your body has had the work. Our bodies are designed to exercise, so you won't feel as restless. It increases your ability to cope with stress. More oxygen in the brain, more oxygen in the body. That hormone I spoke to will help you feel more optimistic, think optimistically. Increases your mood. You will feel more confidence. And it identifies you as who you are. You'll have a better idea of who you are if you're aware of how your body moves in space and what your body is able to do for you. There are barriers. What are the barriers? What stops us? Well, time. Sometimes we feel we just don't have time. Money. Things cost. How do we get there? Transportation. Is it accessible? And maybe we just don't know what services or programs are available. How do we change these? How do we work within these barriers? So for time, pick a time. Allow yourself a time. This is as important in your life as anything else you make time for. You make time for work. You make time for rest. You make time to eat. You make time to go to the doctor, to the dentist. Make time to exercise. Very often community programs will have special rates for people on low income. Check out if your community program has something to save you money. As far as transportation, you can take the bus, ride a bike, or maybe ask someone. If you partner up with someone and go together, maybe you can drive together or save that way. Research your local centers. See if they are accessible. Centers are becoming more and more accessible. And research your local program information by internet or call the facilities to find out what is available and what you might be interested in. You may be surprised how many things actually are available. It's quite surprising, the number of things that are out there. And lastly, your quote. I really enjoyed this quote. You cannot plow a field by turning it over in your mind. So thinking about recreation, thinking about exercise isn't going to help your body. You have to get out there and do that. Getting started is the hardest part. This concludes our presentation on recreation and fitness. If you have any questions on this presentation, please do not hesitate to contact your assigned facilitator.